We never even gave ourselves a cool nickname.
How about the Runaways? For all the kids we couldn't save or avenge.
Too dark.
Even for me.
Hi, I'm Dan, and Happy New Year to all you Runaways out there. Today I'm discussing Season 1, Episode 9, Doomsday. Coming all down to this penultimate episode, things are getting crazy, and finally we're getting big answers to big questions. Whether it be who killed Molly's parents, how did Molly get her powers, what exactly is happening at this construction site. So many things are finally coming into focus a little bit more. We're getting big team-ups, big romantic milestones. And on a personal note, it was nice to get the focus a little bit back more onto the kids. Well, also, I think that the scene where Jonah sort of calls out each of the parents for their lack of loyalty over the last 2 episodes was one of the best for both Jonah and the parents. So there's really good stuff for everybody here. There's still some weak points here and there, which I'll get to, but we're gonna go sort of point by point through this one. So first off, we have the big flashback with Molly's parents when they were killed. They're sort of, it seems like geologists of the group, finding digging sites and things like that. They unearthed some rocks, and they know something's up with them. And so they're working with the Yorks, and they're like, it doesn't seem like we're just looking for an energy source, which is one of the other big reveals this episode, which is that Jonah has been telling everyone that their ultimate goal is to find this big renewable energy source. Now, given what they know about Jonah, I find it hard to believe that they believe that, personally, but at least the Yorks and the Hernandezes have a bit of an inkling that something's awry here. And so they find these sort of amorphous alien rock things, which ultimately give Molly her abilities, which I think is really interesting. And again, it explains some of the things of, well, why do some of these kids have powers, but the parents didn't have powers? Well, here's our first explanation. And I do think this is a really nice episode for Molly as she starts to come to grips with what happened to her family and is ready to fight back against everything that's sort of shaped her life up to this point. Now, the big reveal of this flashback, in addition to the Yorks and the Hernandezes working together, is that Leslie, not Tina, was the one to sort of set the fire and kill the Hernandezes here. So we still don't really know why, whether she was doing it on Jonah's orders or whether he was doing it to stop Jonah from finding out that they knew about this. But Tina's in the know that Leslie's the one who did it, but we're starting to realize that maybe Tina isn't as bad as we thought she might be, which of course is reinforced by even Nico and Alex acknowledging that it's unlikely that Tina is the one who killed Amy later on in the episode. Now, as far as the Nico-Tina stuff, we move over to Nico trying to read the phone from Amy, but it's charging, and her dad comes in and wants to, like, hang out on the bed. Now, I believe this is Amy's room. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just don't understand why Nico would have kept the phone charging in Amy's room. Like, it's a suspicious area for you to be in. You've been questioned about being there multiple times. Why aren't you charging this in your room? Seems really weird and just awkward. And like a weird way, especially with the dad coming in, of pushing time away. And you know, delaying this reveal. Then we pick back up with Chase and Janet is really in full-on, like, ostracized from the Pride at this point. She's worried about Chase asking too many questions about Jonah, about Pride in general, and she just wants him to be safe. So this is the first time where she's, you know, being as open as a parent has been up to this point about what's going on, that there are unsafe things happening in Pride, and she's worried about his safety. This certainly adds a lot of dimension to Janet's character over even people like the Yorks, who, yes, they were trying to protect their kid, but they were never going to the level of telling them anything. Chase then goes to school, where he meets back up with everyone, and Alex is pissed after last week. He is not having any of Chase's shenanigans, and he is quite pissed. Carolina tries to stick up for him, but Gert kind of shuts her down and picks on her a little bit for hooking up with Chase. Now, at first I was thinking, oh, come on, Gert, like, why are you still on this? Like, clearly she's not a threat to you. You know that she likes Nico, so why is this such a big deal? But I tried to think about it from Gert's point of view a little bit, and it is at least worth noting that Carolina made out with Chase knowing that Gert liked him when she didn't like Chase. From Gert's perspective, I can understand how it's like a not very nice thing to do. At the same time, it was Chase that kissed Carolina, so I guess Gert doesn't really know all the complexities of that necessarily. The big thing that happens here as they all come together again to discuss the destruction of the files and everything is that they start talking about, oh, what should we call ourselves? And Alex brings up the idea of calling themselves the Runaways in tribute to all the Runaways they couldn't save and that they couldn't avenge. This is an interesting point for me, because the question is this just a cheeky thing? Will they still eventually become Runaways themselves? Or is this their, like, blasé way of giving meaning to the title when maybe in the show they won't ever run away? I still haven't read the comics, so I don't know how much the show is going to go in a different direction. I mean, after next episode, could the kids and the parents just team up and they never run away? It seems possible, honestly, because of how much they have developed these parents and how much, yeah, okay, the parents aren't perfect, but I feel like a lot of these kids are able to forgive their parents for things, and there is a lot more gray area going on here than there could have been. So I hope, personally, the kids still run away. I feel like it would be silly if the show was just called Runaways because of the Runaways that were killed at the beginning. But this seems like an out for them, and I'm interested to see whether you think they'll actually go down that path and how you'd feel about it. But speaking of runaways, Molly did run away, so kudos to her for being the first. And she comes to them with the VHS, and they watch this video from her deceased parents, describing the dig that Jonah planned, that Pride planned, and how they found out that by doing this dig, not only was it unlikely to actually be about renewable energy given the weird rocks and everything, but it would also cause catastrophic damage in the form of earthquakes and all sorts of other natural disasters, which would presumably be what toppled LA in the futuristic time machine thing that Victor made. This is a big deal and obviously sort of galvanizes the team together again, and Chase pretty quickly switches around from, oh, we can't do anything to Pride to, oh, I guess we have to stop Pride. And I want to talk more about this video and the fact that Molly's parents sent this to her cousin, hoping that someday Molly would find it. I understand we're like in comic book world or TV world or whatever, this is a thing people do, but in the reality of storytelling, or I don't even know what, it just doesn't make any sense. Why would you leave this for your, what, like 8-year-old or something? Like your very little kid, when you have no idea if she'll have, they don't think she has abilities at this point. They think that something catastrophic could happen that would destroy the entire city, and they're leaving it to that hopefully their kid can find it. I understand that they don't think they can trust necessarily the rest of Pride, and they didn't think they could even necessarily trust the Yorks, but you think that hopefully they would have some other fail-safe system where someone other than just their daughter could actually do something about this event. It just felt a little bit contrived and foolish to me. Even just getting it to the cousin. She could maybe tell someone she's an adult. If the point of the message was to say, oh, we want to make sure Molly knows that we love her and we want to make sure that she knows we weren't the bad guys, sure. But you think they'd also want, if they were thinking about, oh, we might be killed, that they'd also have a failsafe to actually stop the bad event. Or at least tell someone that they know the event is coming, other than their daughter. Just saying, it felt silly. Now we take a little bit of a sidestep away from the comic booky superhero stuff into some romantic entanglements as the kids use a dance as cover as they're going to go and try to take down this construction site and the drill to stop the big commotion. And the dance leads to first Chase talking to his mom about girls, and he says, oh, as much as I spend more time with Carolina, the more I realize that she doesn't really want to spend time with me. And then he starts talking about Gert and how he doesn't really understand her, but sometimes she makes really good points and things like that. And so there's some cute stuff here for sure, and we're gonna obviously get into that more. I did feel like there were a few steps skipped along this path. I'm happy that Chase and Gert are becoming more of a thing, but at the same time, I don't feel like I ever truly got the point where Chase realized Carolina wasn't reciprocating his feelings. I feel like he was pretty happy after the kiss, and where did things go where he just came to that realization and completely shifted gears to Gert. I feel like given how slow so many things were this season, we could have put a little bit more effort into showing that as opposed to just him telling us this episode that he realized this. It didn't feel super organic to me, even if I do enjoy the cuteness of him and Gert. Meanwhile, we have the sadness of Nico and Alex. Nico is still very pissed at Alex. I guess deservedly so, but I just want her to be nice to him. He's a nice boy, don't you think? And so then we get to the dance, and we have Gert and Chase hooking up. Basically, Gert comes out about saying, oh, I've always had this defense mechanism where I call you names and stuff because I felt like you were ignoring me, and like I wanted you to see me. And he talks about how he's glad that, as bad as everything is now, there's truth coming forward, and he knows who his friends are, and he knows who his family is, and who his parents are. And I think that these were a nice little back and forth that eventually leads into them hooking up in a very sultry scene, I might say, with some nice music brought to you by the OC. My one issue with this hookup are the final 2 lines before they start hooking up, which is Chase saying, oh, I always saw you, and Gert saying, oh, I know you did. To me, this just doesn't ring true. I don't feel like Chase always saw her, and I think that's okay. I think it's okay that he came to realization that there was more to her and that he had been shallow before and that he saw something greater in her now. And on top of that, I feel like Gert does not know that he always saw her. That completely flies in the face of everything they said. It just felt like a cheesy, overly romantic line that was unnecessary for the reality of the moment. Then we move over to Carolina kissing Nico, which I thought was a very interesting move and moment. It's interesting because I didn't really feel like I was seeing Nico reciprocating Carolina until this episode, whereas, okay, so she seems to pretty substantially reciprocate, but maybe with a little bit of hesitation. And so the question is that hesitation because Carolina's a girl? Is it because of her feelings for Alex still being there? I'm interested to see how this all sort of pans out. Personally, I'm still sort of rooting for Alex and Nico just because I haven't really seen like Nico really caring about Carolina that way. I would love, obviously, Carolina to be happy, and I hope that she finds somebody else, but I'm personally just team Nico and Alex. They can certainly change my mind, because Carolina and Nico are both awesome. That said, my poor boy Alex really deserves something, considering at the end of this episode, everybody's all powered up and ready to go, and he's just like, oh, I have a scowl because I can't do nothing, and can he just get something? He's the leader just like by accident, and I don't know. I feel like he needs something else. Meanwhile, we get this great scene I alluded to earlier with Jonah and his speech about, do you know where your children are? Which I really enjoyed that callback to that old saying. I always remember growing up and hearing that at the beginning of the news, and I just thought it was a really good speech and it really made Jonah intimidating. I think the actor who plays Jonah does a really great job and is definitely my favorite of the adults besides James Marsters. He has so much charisma and intimidation in this scene as he one by one calls out each of his followers and, cuts them down as he knows what they did wrong, and he reveals to everyone that all of their kids know everything. So I didn't mention before, but he obviously has all this information from Frank, who told Jonah everything Carolina told him, presumably. And the question is, does Frank have some greater plan involved here, or is he betraying Carolina? It's hard to tell. I don't know what this possible plan could be. To me, it feels more likely that he's betraying Carolina. And the question is he doing it willfully, or is he just kind of mind-controlled or hypnotized in some way by Jonah? To me, it feels more likely to be the latter. But I really like how Jonah sort of calls out each person. He knows so much and he utilizes his knowledge against them. It really reminds me of Voldemort in the end of the 4th book of Harry Potter, where he sort of calls out everybody for their lack of loyalty, and it just creates this shiver as they know that, like, he could end any of them at any moment. And then we see all the parents going and they realize all the things that their kids took, and they have to meet up with them at the construction site because, again, Frank and Jonah let them into the construction site via one of the Gaborum people. At the construction site, we have everybody trying to destroy everything. We have a great thing of Molly pushing the truck into the pit. It's really nice seeing Molly be such a badass. I'm really enjoying her character. And then we have a little bit more of romantic squabbling as Gert tries to sort of backpedal and be like, oh yeah, this one-time thing, as a, again, sort of defense mechanism so that he can stop it before potentially Chase would. Ultimately, the parents and the kids end up facing off as they reveal all of their powers to their parents, and Leslie is quite frazzled. She knew that this is a possibility that Carolina would have powers, but she had hoped not. And that's the moment that we're left with. It's a weird way to end out because all the kids other than Alex have like actual abilities. And yeah, okay, the parents are adults, but aside from Tina, they can't do much more than punch their kids, which I don't exactly expect to have happen. So I'm interested to see where this confrontation actually goes. I don't think that the parents want to hurt their kids. Even Leslie, I don't believe, would attack her own daughter. So I'm not sure where this is going. Clearly, Jeff's best friend, ex-best friend, is going to play some sort of role. I wonder if he'll get zapped with something and become a bigger villain in season 2. But we still need to know what Jonah's actual plan is. I'm excited to find out, and I'm excited to see this potential first big action sequence. I'm hoping that it won't be a sort of Hero Season 1 finale deal, where we build up all this stuff and then it's a sort of lackluster finale because of budget and things like that. But we'll see. We're finally up to this big moment. I'm excited to end the season on a bang. I hope they run away, and I hope season 2 comes soon, because I am excited to watch the version of the show where not everything is shrouded in mystery, where we kind of know to some degree where we are at with these characters and can move forward from there. I hope we see Victor next episode, and I wonder if eventually, you know, what would make sense is the kids and the parents teaming up against Jonah. But again, does that massively mess up what the premise of the comic book is, to the point where are they just completely different things at this point? I don't know. Again, I probably will start reading the comic books after the season is over. I'm excited to see what you guys think, and please let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share, and I can't wait to talk to you guys next week.